There we go. There we go. I've already had my share of heartache and danger. I'm hoping that closing this old chapter will get me some closure. And I've got what I think might be a clue already. See this cufflink? She focuses on the bauble for a moment and nods. I found this in a mausoleum at Sacred Heart. It's a damn odd thing to have been lying around where it was. I can see strength in you, Atticus, but this is a dark path. Are you certain you wish to know? I am. I cannot tell you very much, but I can direct you to the next stop on your journey. Whenever someone dies in the smoke is London, okay, ambulance drivers race to be the first to claim them. She blows an ironic cloud into the space between you. Your friend went missing decades ago, but chances are someone found him. You should look for old drivers, perhaps around the docks and wharfs. Okay. Interesting. Got anything in stock that would make the fates smile down on me? As it happens, I am in possession of a gree, a talisman from the Vodun tradition used to ward off evil and attract good fortune. A Vodun staple that brings good fortune to its owner. £2. We don't have £2. On second thought, I'll take my chances without it. As you wish. Okay, I should get going. Time is of the essence. Farewell, Atticus. How much money do we have? We are missing 12 shillings. I don't think we're gonna get that before we leave. Okay. We need to find the driver. Okay, so that's at the wharf. We can go there real quick and take a look at that. I want to end this chapter in this recording despite my voice slowly giving out. But I do want to get that done and then sail off. I feel like that's the reasonable thing to do and then leave the whole rest of it to the next recording. Again, with hopefully a better voice. Okay, let's see then. Who would be a driver? Helena Bailey? Still gazing out at nothing. No, that's nothing. You are not drivers, you are fishermen, right? Yep. Okay. And Timothy. Don't need a cigarette, thank you very much. Okay, none of those guys. Maybe in the tavern, but I don't think Glenn is a driver at this point. Ask Glenn about his life before seafaring. So tell me, Lieutenant, what was life like before becoming a sailor? Not much to tell. I did a little of this, a little of that. A little ambulance driving perhaps. I should be careful asking. He's likely to be evasive and I can only ask once. Come on. Okay, that works. Come now, Glenn. I've listened to your sea tales and was I anything but a capable listener? An adventurer like yourself must have worked some exciting jobs as a young man. Why is everyone asking me about this all of a sudden? He rubs his temples in apparent consternation. Fine. I used to work as an ambulance driver once upon a time, and more recently, I suppose. Recently? Look, I take no pride in it, really. Did it a while when I was a young man, and got out of that rotten business when I joined Her Majesty's Navy. Rotten? Aren't ambulance drivers an altruistic lot? Ever since my discharge, it's been a bit tough making ends meet. The pension only goes so far. So yes, I've gone back to it, but at least I'm not still doing Arsenal's dirty work. Blood drains from the lieutenant's face. Forget that last part. Okay, let's try this one. Show him the cufflink and ask him to elaborate on Arsenal engines. No, really? 90% chance. Oh my god, really? Listen, Bob, I know what you've been up to. I have this cufflink from the scene of the crime. Start talking. What makes you think that's mine? Your initials are right there. Believe it or not, there are more there's more than one man in the world with my initials, like Gregory Fisher or go fancy yourself. He's shaking with poorly concealed anger. I would suggest that you go fancy yourself right about now, and I'll be taking that with me. He snatches up the cufflink before I can stop him. Well, that's that then. No, you know what? You know what? You know what? When was the last autosave? That was 3 minutes ago. Screw it, I'm doing that again. I don't care. I basically never save scum, but like, come on. Come on. Come on, my card luck has been so bad, and then we get the critical failure. Life equals seafaring, etc. Be more specific, please. There's 100. We've heard that before. Recently, etc. And does the 100 reshuffle the deck as well? It does. It does. Come on now. There we go. Look here, does this seem familiar? It's my cufflink. Where did you find it? I think you know where. His face twists into an expression of agony. Ah, fine, but you can't repeat this to a soul. Let's agree. I mean, we can break any stipulation we agree to. Doesn't matter. Of course, Glenn, your secret's safe with me. He relaxes a bit, but still looks pained. It was all some 2 decades past. I was a young man, all full of vinegar, and I was good at my job. Driving an ambulance is a competitive business. You know, not everyone can do it, and you need to be fast. I've heard that they'll steal patients from each other like medical highwaymen. Patients, yes, wanted dead or alive. Well, one day a certain local businessman reached out with a lucrative offer. He knew I was the best, and he wanted my help. Help with what? Was he a physician? Not exactly. You might say he paid well for the leftovers. Sounds like a physician, actually. He'd been contacted by Arsenal Engines. They knew he had a line on cadavers, and they were interested in getting some themselves. There was a problem, though. There weren't enough to go around. He was too attached to the corpses to give them up for something as inconsequential as money. No self-discipline, there weren't enough to go around. Exactly. Interesting. Physicians colleges have a hard time getting enough cadavers for doctors to learn with. Private research tends to have less in the way of legitimacy, and that makes it all the harder to get the resources needed. So where did you come in? Like I said, I was the best. He needed someone who could reliably deliver the ones who didn't make it. He sighs heavily. I grew up in the West End, you know. I didn't have much apart from gumption. The money was good and nobody minds a dead drifter going missing once in a while. So I helped the man out. Whenever I had extras no one would miss, I made a delivery. Surely there's no way for this sordid story to take a turn for the worst. It still wasn't enough though. Arsenal needed industrial numbers. So they took to retrieving some that were already well and buried. You robbed graves? I'd hardly call it robbing. Paupers, drifters, men like me. They weren't buried with riches. And nobody was coming back to check on grave and All Souls. On All Souls. A holiday following Halloween. Okay, I remember. Okay. Easy to wave it away when it's nobody you know. For a while it seemed like we were filling the quota, but people just weren't dying fast enough. And despite what you might have heard about ambulance drivers, we're not out there killing for a payday. The last straw was the graveyard outside Sacred Heart. Word was we had permission, but those poor kids, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror after. So next day I enlisted. Let's ask him about the abductions. I'm looking into a disappearance from Sacred Heart. Not just out of the ground, but a live resident. Were you involved in that? What? God no. I'd never harm a child. I haven't worked for Arsenal in a quarter century, and even when I did, I'd never done that. You didn't take issue with grave robbing, though? Yeah, okay, but that's different. If you say so, Glenn, but the fact remains the children went missing. I've never had any part in it, but... He seems shaken. If kids went missing, maybe you should check with Arsenal. I can't say I know they were doing... I can't say I know they were doing any such things, but it did surprise me when the prior at Sacred Heart just let us raid the cemetery. If he wasn't in Arsenal's pockets, God knows what else he was up to. Okay, I just might do that. Thank you for your help, Glenn. I hope you find what you're looking for. See you later, Glenn. Arsenal is... You know, Arsenal is right here, right? Let's take a look at that. Leo's Lament. Glenn Forrester told me Arsenal should pay a visit to one of their warehouses. That's where Dante Siegler comes in. Let's quickly pay him a visit. Hello, Dante. Really, mate, there's a deal of numbers spinning in my head, and I don't want those. I don't want to lose track. Now scoot along. See what he knows about the shady business dealings of Arsenal Engines. Sorry to bother you, Dante, but I was hoping you could help me with something. Squared. Then the derivative is Mr. Siegler. Damn it, I lost the equation to your interruptions. This better be important. Sprinus, you might say that. Do you work for Arsenal Engines? Sorry about that. I know what it's like to lose my train of thoughts in the middle of something. Now let's go for Sprinus. You might say that. Do you work for Arsenal Engines? Do I? I'm a fairly recent acquisition. Let's explain it with utmost decorum. Pardon me for the intrusion on your time, but I find myself at a bit of an impasse when it comes to an event from my distant history. Let me take you back to the beginning. I was but a lad of 13 when I struck out upon... Faster. I don't know what you didn't understand when I said I was busy. Well, I'm looking into some shady dealings your employer was engaged in 23 years ago. I'd like to get inside the warehouse and take a look around. Think you could help me with that? Dante frowns, but he doesn't seem surprised. No, I can't help you with that. People who happen to wander by aren't generally given access to Arsenal's warehouse, and I'm not going to risk my neck making an exception in your case. Ask him to look around for records of Arsenal's misdeeds. Ask him if he knows about Arsenal's history with child abduction. I'll go with the second one. Fine, fine. Just for the record though, do you happen to know anything about Arsenal Engines kidnapping live subjects to use in, I don't know, experiments? Can't say as I do, but as I said, I'm a new hire. They're not going to go telling me all their deepest, darkest secrets after a few weeks. Hell, why do you think I'm out here on the wharf? They won't even let me wander around inside unsupervised. Damn, if only it had been that easy. The engineer's brow furrows, and he purses his lips for a moment before continuing. But you know, I actually do know someone who must have seen every square inch of the warehouse, and he's been around here. For decades, from my understanding. Who would that be? His name is Pavel Gerard, a rat catcher and a strange fellow running a business out of Soris Square. He's been at it for, well, roughly forever now. He was in our warehouse a few days ago, making the rounds, and I gather he's made a monthly visit for the last 30-odd years. Ah yes, Pavel Gerard. I've met him before. Thank you for your help, Dante. I'll be off then. Okay, is he still in the tavern? Let's take a look. Let's enter the tavern and see if we can find him real quick. Or maybe we'll talk about it on the island. Alright, not island. Manor. It's not on an island. We take a boat, that's why I thought island for a second. Pavel? Yeah, let's ask him about that. I've heard around town that you have a bit of a sweetheart deal with Arsenal Engines, sole pest controller for decades. I do indeed, sir. Why would you go with anyone else? I'm the finest rat catcher in London. So it's true, with any luck, this man can shed some light on what happened so long ago. And you've been in and out of Arsenal's warehouse all that time? Of course. Have to keep the little ones out of the gears and pistons, you know? Okay, come on. Persuade him to tell you about Arsenal Engine's shady past. That works. I was expecting the -100 again. Clearly, you've been you're the best at what you do, or Arsenal wouldn't have kept you in their employ so long. That's the truth. They haven't heard a squeak in a quarter century. Well, apart from 1 year. Awful lot of squeaking then. What happened that year? Oh, I don't think you'd believe it, sir. Try me. If you'd believe it, there was some sort of plague that year. Arsenal tried to help with the cleanup efforts, and their warehouse were just packed with bodies. Now hang on, I don't remember no plague. She might be too young, but I don't remember it either. I was working double duty just to keep it all contained. The little nibblers were everywhere. Arsenal Engines had warehouses full of corpses. You said there was a plague. I don't remember a plague. Let's go with the second one. Oh, aye, sir. You didn't hear about it because Arsenal kept it so well controlled. He pauses for a moment, lost in thought. Doesn't sound like much of a plague then, does it? Anyway, it didn't kill anyone important. Seemed like it only affected those of low station. Drifters, dollies, orphans. You know the type. Probably had something to do with poor personal hygiene. A rat scurries out of his coat and into his shirt collar. Orphans? Did you say there were orphans? Yes, sir. Well, children of a particularly rough sort of dress. There's always orphans. Do you think you'd remember any specific bodies if I described what they looked like? Huh? What's your interest in this? Let's be honest mostly. I'm looking into a friend who went missing around the time. I'm worried he might have caught this plague you mentioned. Ah, of course. Here I was worried you were with Big Squill. A type of lily-like flower poisonous to rats. Oh, okay, so rat poison industry or something? Always coming around asking me questions, trying to get me to buy their solutions. Would you believe they sent an agent just today? Pretty young thing I'd been courting. She walks into my shop today with a bouquet of wildflowers. Right in the middle of them, a purple squill. I knew then she was one of them. They'll stop at nothing, these ne'er-do-wells. That's rubbish. Who'd bring flowers to an old sod like you? Back on the subject of my old friend. Ah, yes. Well, I'm afraid I haven't much of a talent for faces, Governor. What was his name? Leo Longo. Why would that help? Oh, well, you see, when they brought the bodies in, they each had a toe tag. Names or at least nicknames on each one. Watched them removed, thrown in a wastebasket. I was taking out the rubbish anyway. Felt like a shame to have those folks' names just tossed out like that, so I kept them. He still has the toe tags for corpses from a warehouse he cleaned 23 years ago. There's something odd about this man. Got them all right here somewhere. Always try to keep all my papers on me. Little scraps never last long around my friends, you see. Always end up as even littler scraps. Pavel twists dramatically to reach into his jacket and produces a bag brimming with bits of paper. He rifles through it as though it were a well-organized filing cabinet. LaVey Lincoln Longtoe? Must have been a whole lot of toe to hang that tag on. Longo, Leonardo. There he is. He's holding a small paper tag, looped around his finger by a bit of string. There's Leo's name, plain as day. So that's it then. Taken by Arsenal because of a plague. It could have just as easily have been me if I hadn't gotten out when I did. That's his name, alright. Guess his body ended up in the Arsenal warehouse after all. Well, this has been a delightful interaction, sir, but I need to get back to preparing for tonight, if you don't mind. That's it then. Leo is taken by Arsenal Engines in cooperation with Father Franco and the Sons of Caruso. Whoever they are, should I run into Franco or Silas Bragg, they should be able to give me answers. It may never happen, but at least I know where he went. Maybe I should drop by Leo's memorial outside the orphanage. Alright then, I'll see you both at the manor later on. Count on it. I'm looking forward to some mayhem. Okay. Let's go to the grave real quick. I've been recording for much longer than I usually do this game, and that's usually because my voice gets sore, but I suppose because it's already sore, I've just kind of had this... I've kind of haven't noticed it getting so much worse, you know, because it already was bad. Let's go to Cable Street real quick, and then we'll take the boat, end the chapter, and be done with it. Okay. Fine. Alright, let's run. Let's run real quick. Please tell me the officer is still at the site. Good. Let's visit the grave. That explains why there's an officer to convince. And, you know, nothing to do inside except visit the grave. You know, I'm glad I save-scummed that, because otherwise I think the quest would have just ended. And that's kind of lame. You know, when the continuation of a quest depends on a skill check, I'm never a big fan of that. You know, I think Disco Elysium did that quite well. There's only a very few things that lock you out of quests. It's rare. Usually there's ways around. And this game, you know, for the most part, it's been pretty good. But like this one failed skill check and quest failed. I don't like that. Let's take a look at Leo's memorial.